Hi, Bridgette Griffiths here from Your Address Real Estate, and I'm back with Guy Gibbons, CEO of Bennett Carroll Solicitors. Welcome back, Guy.
Thank you.
It's always great to have you here. Guy, today my question is probably one that I hope you don't have to defend yourself, but as a buyer, why do I need a solicitor or a conveyancer?
Oh, it's not a legal requirement that you have a solicitor do your conveyance, but for most people it's one of the most important transactions they'll ever do.
Sure.
Most people don't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in one go very many times in their life, and if it's your home, you want it to be right.
Sure.
Lots of little things that we do. I think most members of the public think conveyancing is just filling in a few forms. It's a piece of cake, right?
A few stamps or something somewhere along the way.
And it just kind of seems to happen seamlessly, so it mustn't be much.
Sure.
But there are lots of things that a good solicitor will do in your conveyance, and you may not necessarily see them all, but first thing they do is check your contract signed properly, that it's actually enforceable, so that you don't get within a couple of days of settlement and have the seller go, actually I'm not going to sell you the property.
Pretty important.
Second thing that we do is we actually check that the person listed can sell it to you. It's extraordinary the number of times we find that the person listed on the contract has some kind of impediment to selling it. They're bankrupt. They're part of some kind of ongoing dispute with their bank, and their bank is about to take possession of the property.
It might be a caveat or something like that, I'm not sure.
Could be a caveat, could be some kind of blister on the title that they haven't quite told you about. We go and check all of those things. We check that the property doesn't have some kind of stigma on it. We check the public records. We check, if you want us to, we check that the thing doesn't flood. We check that they're not about to put a freeway through the front yard.
It's important.
We check, as long as it's not on a mountaintop, that they're not about to put interstate railway through your yard. There's a whole range of searches that we can do, and we alert you to those and say, does your property fit this frame? Do you want these searches done?
Sure.
Then we'll navigate your contract through the subject to the building, the pest, the finance. These days, building, pest and finance arguments are well over 50%.
Wow.
It's seen as an opportunity to renegotiate the terms
Sure.
of the contract.
Yeah, we've seen that quite a bit with building and pest inspections, yes.
And it can be costly to you if you don't have someone actually navigating you through that. The next thing that we do once we get to unconditional is obviously do the actual transfer transaction, deal with your bank, if you're selling your bank releasing, if you're buying your bank advancing. We check that all of the numbers add up, we do all of the adjustments. There are little things that get adjusted. For example, on settlement day, it's very unusual for all of your rates to be perfectly paid up to settlement day.
Very unlikely.
If the rates are paid beyond settlement day, then the purchase price is actually increased by those few days. If they're not paid up to settlement day, then vice versa. So we do all of those little adjustments. We check if there's no land tax payable on the site, and if there is land tax, we make sure that it's paid before you buy it. All of those little things are done. Then we tee up the settlement, the meeting of all of the interested parties, where the checks and the documents go around. And we go to the settlement. We check that everything's right before you go parting with your hard-earned money.
Sure.
And when that's right, then we will see the documents into the hand of your bank, and we'll let you know that it's done. All of those things tend to happen without too much fuss, so people just kind of assume it's really rather easy.
Like a duck on the water, isn't it? A little feeder going on.
Oh yes. And this comes back to engaging a good solicitor.
Sure.
If your contract goes off to one of the big battery hen factories, you might find that your contract is one of a blizzard of contracts that are having to be dealt with, and the priority is a bit low and the care factor's not quite there.
Sure.
Likewise, if it goes to a little storefront law firm that might do 3 or 4, 5, 6 contracts a month, it doesn't quite have the expertise underneath it to check all of those little things. So choosing a firm that does lots of conveyancing but isn't a factory with a tsunami of work,
Sure.
and making sure that if something does go wrong, the firm that you choose has the capability to navigate you through it, and has the ability to have a solicitor actually raise himself to his full height and say this is how it's going to be, and actually keep your rights on track. All of that stuff's really quite important. Unfortunately, people tend to buy conveyancing based on the price, and price is important, but
it's probably not the most important thing.
No, it's a big transaction for most people, and a few $100. It is 0.002 of the average purchase price is the actual professional fee to get the job done. So it's really not that big a deal to make sure that all of the things that might leave you with a property that is a real problem, that they're all checked before you part with your money.
Absolutely, fantastic advice. Thanks so much. I didn't realise it was such a small percentage of what the purchase price is. Not at all. So it does pay to seek an experienced conveyancer. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.